Hey everyone, welcome to Wind Down Wednesday. Hi Rachel,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Good. I'm just excited to take over Carly's Wind Down Wednesday with you.
I know, I feel like we have a lot to live up to, right?
I know.
A lot of
So
energy.
I hope our viewers are not missing Carly tonight. She's out of state tonight, presenting. Um, but we're going to try to give you as great of an experience.
Yes. And we thought, what's one thing that we both love to talk about? And we came down to what we love to talk about are our favorite books.
Love books. Never going to stop loving books.
So that's what we're going to talk about tonight is some of our favorite books that we like, and hopefully give you a little tip on some ones that might be new to your school library.
Yeah. Um, Especially too thinking about this time of year with thinking about maybe diversifying our book selections a little bit more than maybe we had in the past.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
Rachel, do you want to go first?
oh, I was just going to offer that up to you. Oh my gosh, we didn't. It was we're trying to be so casual about it that. All right, I'll go first then.
Okay.
I'm going to share this one and if anybody has ever attended my bilingual book session, then you have seen me share this book, Lakshmi's Mooch. It is written by Shelley Anand. And hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. And it is a bilingual book, and features a whole bunch of words in Hindi. And so there's you actually get some new vocabulary in the book jacket. But it goes through. Lakshmi discovers one day that she's got a little mustache. And those of us our age, Maggie, probably know that struggle.
Yeah. Not new to me.
But she kind of goes through the whole coming to terms with the fact that this is part of who she is and where her family comes from and their ethnicity tied into her skin and her hair and how all of that presents itself. And at the end, I'll just show you one little excerpt. I mean, I could spend the whole 30 minutes reading you this book and having a great time with it.
To be fair, that was one of our options when we were discussing what our topic was. Should we just read books?
Yeah. Well, at the end, though, she gets the whole class involved and everybody gets a little mustache, whether you already have one or she starts drawing them on kiddos in the class. So it's really a nice story about body acceptance and awareness. And has a nice, fun cultural aspect to it that maybe some of our classrooms aren't maybe tapping into as much because I'm really into bilingual books these days. And I also like the thought of bringing in ones that are those windows for our students, not just only the mirrors. So that's Lakshmi's Mooch. Check it out.
Love it. I love it. So when I was looking through all the books I have, I tried to select a few that might be good for the upcoming Indigenous Peoples Day.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one I'll share with you is Fry Bread. And it's called Fry Bread, A Native American Family Story, and it's written by Kevin Noble Millard, and it's illustrated by Juana Martinez Neal, and she is the person who illustrated Alma and how she got her name.
Ooh, okay.
So if you know that book, it's the same illustrator. And what this book does is it talks about how a family makes fry bread together and about how important that tradition is to their family. So basically, it starts off like fry bread is shape, it's sound, it's history, and it goes through and talks all about just that that family tradition and togetherness about making something together, and it talks about how important it is to their family, to their culture. It has a few cool things that I just like to point out. I don't know if you can see this, but on the inside of the book, those are all names of different indigenous tribes. And I mean, there must be like a couple hundred. So it's a really cool little touch. The other part is the text is pretty simple. So this says fry bread is food, flour, salt, water, cornmeal, baking powder, perhaps milk, maybe sugar. But at the end, there's an author's note where she goes for each one of those fry bread is blank. She goes into a lot, or he goes into a lot more detail about that and about the history and like lists some references and different parts. So I think it has a lot of really neat access points for people, like if you are a newer reader, you can read just the text in the book. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, into the history, into the depth, if you have, if you're a more advanced reader, then you can read that author's note to get a little bit more background. So I think it has a couple really nice access points for people and for learners of all ages, all proficiency levels. So I think it's just a really cool book.
Well, I think you make a good point there, Maggie, too, about the different access points and different age levels and proficiency levels. I think that's a thing that most of us try to aim with. We would share a lot of picture books, but with the intent that we're not just using them with primary age students, that we can use them with intermediate age kiddos, with middle schoolers, with high schoolers. So many of these texts have so many ranges that we can dig into and layers to uncover. So I think that's a good point to make to our viewers too, just to know that just because we're sharing a picture book doesn't mean that our older students might not benefit from that work as well.
Right. And I always say, like, how great it is to just have a book be read aloud to you, regardless of what kind of book it is. Like, think of how many adults love like Audible and things like that, and listening to audiobooks. Yep. And so I think that's, a practice that should be embedded in education at all levels. And some of these picture books can be a nice quick introduction to something before you dive deeper into a different text on it. So I think, again, offering students those windows and mirrors into, through these books.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we have to recognize too that, I'm a big Audible listener. But, at some age, we kind of transitioned away from books with pictures in them. And magazines were so popular for a while growing up. I'm dating myself, but you don't, unless maybe you're going to a doctor's office and there's a selection of magazines there in the waiting room. People aren't getting those regularly in subscription format anymore. So sometimes I feel like we miss some of that text visual connection as well.
And I think it's important because visual literacy is such an important part of education today, and how students are being exposed to like infographics and different ways to absorb information. And that's a skill to be able to, to go in and be able to take in text and graphics and images and then make sense of them. Yeah. And I think that, that skill only gets stronger the more you do it. And so we have to expose, students to a lot of images and talk about them, because that's such an important skill.
Yeah. Yeah. I've even been here lately, traveling to PD sessions I've been leading, and I've been throwing in some picture books in my bag, some for moments of just, we need to chill. Other times it's just a great experience to even just to center ourselves in a read aloud. So I'll share another one here.
Okay, please.
Following your lead with the around Indigenous persons. This one is We Are Grateful. It is written by Tracy Sorrell and illustrated by Frane Lissac. It's won lots of awards, as they're all here on the cover. This is another bilingual book, but this is a bilingual book that is features Cherokee language. And so what you get in on every page is you get a new word in Cherokee, and it even gives you some pronunciation help down here, which is that's what this word is grateful, and then written in Cherokee here.
Okay.
I'm going to try to say it. Ohalihayeliga. I don't know how I got that from that, but I would need a lot of practice. But I think how fun could that be with your students, showing some of that vulnerability of, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. I've never experienced the Cherokee language before. It could lead us into some really cool exploration too. So it's really kind of a great text to share around that Thanksgiving time too, when we might be really focused on the first Thanksgiving that tends to dominate a lot of lessons. This one's just looking at gratitude and being grateful for different persons, for the earth, and for what we're given. And then you get a cool experience with some language in it too. So
I love that.
And oh, look at this. See, I haven't picked it up for a little while. You do get some, you got a whole glossary with some definitions here in the back, and you get a look at the characters.
Oh, cool.
So we could even, I mean, heck, you could get kiddos trying to write with those letters. How fun would that be?
Yeah, what a great experience.
Yeah, so that's another one to check out.
That's awesome. I've not heard of that one. So that's a new book to me, and I will be adding it to my Amazon cart shortly.
Anytime I have a talk with really anybody on our specialist team, that usually ends up happening is add to cart, add to cart. We all should really just start ordering 7 of each book and sending it to each other.
Yeah. I think it would save time in the long run. Okay, so my next book, again, sticking with that theme of the upcoming Indigenous Peoples Day, I have We Are Water Protectors. And this is by Carol Lindstrom and illustrated by Michaela Godey. And basically, what this talks about is like the importance of water to us as people, to our land, and just how it kind of connects all of us together, and how it needs to be protected. And so it's really beautiful, and it talks about like different threats to water, and it really kind of amps up in the end, where it encourages, like it tells you, like, be courageous, take charge, like make some steps, like how can you keep the water in your land safe. And so it talks about like different, and nothing's like a big step that you could do, but it's about like just how to conserve, water, and make sure you're not polluting water. And at the end, it's really cool. I'll show you. It lets students or whoever is reading take like a little pledge to protect the water. And so I think it's really cool because, water is something we take pretty, for granted, I think, a lot. And it talks about just the importance that it has to us, how it connects all of us, how it's important for our plants, our land, our pets, and really kind of draws attention to something that might not be, might not have that attention otherwise. And I think it gives students, something that they feel like, okay, now I can go and make a change. Now I can go make a difference.
Yeah, and what a cool connection that could be to, the whole recycling and impact on our environment, like units that might come up, right? And we're sharing texts now that might relate to this time of year, but also we have to think through that, like, we need to infiltrate these texts into everything that we're doing, right? Going even beyond our one day here and there. And I say that, yet the next text that I had that I wanted to share with is very much connected to kind of a specific day. You could read this any time of year, but it fits well around Mother's Day.
Oh, okay.
And it's called Your Mama. And I've shared this in a couple of workshops before, and read the book, and it's a fun take on like your mama jokes.
Okay.
That were well received when I was a child. not super well received with my stepsons these days. They're like, I don't get it. So those aren't jokes, apparently. Those aren't the things anymore.
Okay.
Right. So there's um, some generational fun to it, but parents and educators picking up this text would probably find that humor in this. It is written by Nonica Ramos and illustrated by Jacqueline Alcantara. And this is another bilingual text. This is my thing these days.
Great.
Everything I pick up. This one though
All the
has,
things to have. It's a great thing.
yes. So this one includes Spanish translanguaging in it, but all about the daughter's kind of, it's from her point of view, and just her mom is a single mom, and kind of all the things they go through, and the how hard her mom works, the advocacy she does. They go to the library, they go on road trips, and it's written in this really fun way, like I said, where it goes off of the your mama jokes. And so almost every kind of section starts with your mama so, and then it goes into she's so brave, she's so kind, she's so wonderful. And so it's a fun one to share around that Mother's Day, but I mean any time of year it works. But that's one that I've been really enjoying reading aloud in particular.
Okay. Again, a new one for me. I love it. Again, Amazon cart. Click.
So did I just see you posted in the chat right now the list of some of the books we're sharing?
Yes. Yes. So we have we made a document with all of the books we're sharing and some extra ones. I am lucky enough to have a sister who's a school librarian. So she gave me a number of books that are great for Indigenous Peoples Day. So I included all of those on there, plus all the ones we're talking about tonight. And you can see that URL at the bottom of your screen now. And it's also in the comments, that the link to that document.
What a fun resource you have in your pocket there with your sister. Your shelves have got to be full.
I know. Well, and she's great. She keeps me up to date. Like anytime there's a new wordless book that comes out, she knows I love them. So she will send me a little text saying, hey, here's a new one on the market. So it's one of my favorite things. And so it's really great to be able to text her today and say like, hey, do you have any books about, for Indigenous Peoples Day? And get like within, 15 minutes, I have 15 book recommendations. That now I have to read them all. So
now anytime I need a set of books, Maggie, I'm going to reach out to you and you have to text your sister for me.
Yeah, she's going to be real excited about this, about her new partnership with the IRC.
You're my book lady.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a great resource. And I mean, for someone who, loves books and just likes to buy them because I like to have them near me, it's a great thing.
I love though you shared years ago, I think when I first met you, about your dad's travels for work and how he would pick you up different books from every country.
Yeah. Yeah. When he had a job, he travels out of country less now, but he had a job where he was in a lot of countries, he was like in Poland, Romania, so countries around there he was going to a lot. And so he would buy me books that were in like Polish, Romanian, Slovakian, Hungarian, like all of these different languages, just because I liked to have them to show that like what you can do with books even when you don't speak the language, like how you can use home language books with students even if you don't speak that language. Also, I just liked to have them. And what was really funny is I could tell like the books that he picked were books I would have liked as a kid. Like they looked like books that I would have read as a child. Like they had like girl characters and princesses, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally would read this if I could read Polish. Like it would be up my alley.
But what a cool thing beyond that, just my parents went here and all I got was this t-shirt, right? Like what a really cool experience in being able to collect those and then bring those into your classrooms, right? I'm that person now who anytime I have to go to a baby shower that asks to bring a book instead of a card,
Mhm.
I always bring a Spanish book. Like it's like baby's first Spanish words or something is is like a staple that you're gonna get from me.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, even if you don't speak Spanish in your household, you're gonna pick it up and go, Rachel gave me this book.
I did for both of my nephews. I got them both the book Dreamers
Perfect.
because I thought that, I mean, I wanted them to have that. I mean, what I wanted to do was buy them 200 books. But,
Which you
and
probably
actually,
will over their course of their lives.
yeah. And one of my books, or one of my nephews gets the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. So every month for the first 5 years of his life, he'll get a book. So he'll have, by the time he's 5, he'll have 60 books. I mean, his mom is a school librarian, so he's going to have a lot more books than that. But the one that he got this month was called Mine, 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 Yours. And
Mm.
then, but it was a bilingual book. It was Mio, 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 Tuyo. And, but he's in the age where like everything's mine, mine, mine. So it was just hilarious. But then I loved the fact that it was a bilingual book that they're sending out to all of these families to, expose,
Yeah.
children to other languages in the world.
How fun.
Yeah. All right, I will show you my next one. And this is a newer one for me. I haven't used it a lot in like workshops yet, but it's called Zonia's Rainforest.
Mm.
And it is also by Juana Martinez Neal. So I have a type. Um, but I thought this was an interesting take because this is a book about indigenous people, but indigenous people of Peru. And
Ooh.
so it takes place in the rainforest of Peru. And I'm going to look my little thing, Ashaninka. So it tells about an Ashaninka girl, is what it says. So I had to give myself a little hint because I didn't want to mispronounce that. But it talks about how she, like what she does every day and how she goes into the rainforest and how she, like, and all the different animals she encounters. And so, like, every page is a different animal she encounters as her friends playing in the rainforest. And then towards the end of the book, she gets to see that she encounters part of the rainforest has been you can see that
Oh,
has
yeah.
been like has been destroyed, and it's something she's never seen, and she goes home and tells her mom, and the mom says, well, that's the earth, that's the rainforest speaking to you. And then it ends like we all have to answer that call. When the earth speaks to us, we have to answer that. So it's a really cool look at a different group of people. Again, you're probably not going to read a ton of books about this tribe of people, and so I don't have a lot of books that are Peruvian either. So I think it's just really beautiful book. And again, it's I think that's kind of the link in all the books that I've talked about is the link between us and the world around us, and
Yeah.
how it's our responsibility to take care of that.
You even just started sharing the basis of that book, and it really was connecting to. I did a study abroad in Ecuador, and we spent some time in Peru. We did a rainforest trip, and I'm not going to share it here on live, but Maggie, you ever want a good story? Let me tell you sometime about my adventures in the Amazon rainforest and my experience with a local shaman.
That is the first thing on my list that we're going to talk about next time. I love that.
I mean, we would just take the whole time, and these viewers, they don't need to hear all that. But
Maybe
that was a good
that's the next
connection.
Wind Down Wednesday. Is story time with Rachel.
It was quite the story. I mean, but we went into the rainforest, and it was quite the. You said that you don't have a lot of Peruvian books. I actually do have one on my shelf. It is Maria Had a Little Llama.
Oh, okay.
And it's based off of Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's
Yeah.
it's in that same nursery rhyme format, but it's set in Peru, and she has a llama instead of a lamb, and it's kind of the same a very similar story, but it's a fun little take on that. I'm really into some of that different versions of fairy tales and fables and nursery rhymes, and that one's another one. So I do have another Peruvian book on my shelf, but I'm
Oh,
gonna have to
man.
pick that one up.
It makes me so I did visit Peru when I was in high school, and it makes it kind of like now that I like collect all these books, it makes me sad that like I didn't know I was going to be collecting these books, and so I feel like what a wasted opportunity for me. I could have had so many books.
I think we need to go back.
I
Time
know.
for an IRC trip.
Okay. Yeah. You set it up. I'll go. Yeah.
I don't know when we find time where we're both not presenting in districts all the time anymore.
We'll have to block out sometime in like 2026.
It's EmpowerCon goes on the road,
Oh, okay.
and we do it in other countries. I think it's just a world tour.
Yes. I think we'll be ready for that.
Yeah, I think we like turn into like a new version of like the Spice Girls.
Right.
We don't sing.
A lot of people like go to Taylor Swift, but people are gonna start coming to us, to the IRC.
We have a little bit of comedy.
Yeah. We have books. I don't know what else you
We're
want.
just always we do read aloud. So
Yeah.
no, they
I
have to
would
take
go.
us to bookstores because I want to buy books.
Right. Yes. That's what we'll do, a bookstore world tour. It'll be a tour where we end up losing money
I was
because
gonna say we're gonna do some fundraising.
yeah. Because we're just gonna be constantly buying books.
And then people be like, what are you gonna do with these? I don't know. I'm gonna put them in workshops.
We're gonna talk about them in Wind Down Wednesday. That's for sure.
That's all it is.
All right. Do you have one last book that you want to share?
I will share one last book with you then. This one, great for going into wintertime, A Sled for Gabo. Shocker, another bilingual book from Rachell's collection here. This is a Spanish bilingual book. This book actually does come fully written in Spanish, un trineo por Gabo, but I'm going to give you just my personal little caveat on it. The Spanish version only has Spanish. It does not have English translanguaging present in it. So I actually like this version better because while the majority of the text is in English, it has a lot of Spanish words that come up throughout it. It's written by Emma Othegi and illustrated by Ana Ramirez Gonzalez. And this whole cute little story centers around it is snowed and Gabo wants to go outside and go sledding, but he quickly realizes he's encountered some issues. He doesn't have boots. And so his mom says, well, just, you're gonna put on your tennis shoes. And she puts plastic bags and ties up like plastic bags over them. Says, these are fine. They're going to keep the water out. And he's a little embarrassed by that. He goes to put on his mittens and he has mittens, but one is really, really small. And then the other pair is his dad's that's too big. And so it's just kind of this fun game of trying to get himself ready. And then when he wants to go outside, he sees all these other kids out there sledding and they have sleds and he doesn't have a sled. And a neighbor actually gives him a lunch tray. And so he goes sledding. And that also reminds me of some college fun we had.
I was just saying, like, that is a very vivid memory for me.
Yes.
About when it would, because I was in North Carolina, so it didn't snow often. And when it did, we all took lunch trays out.
We had some big hills on our campus. And I will never forget the email that went out one winter that was, if everybody doesn't start returning the lunch trays back to the cafeteria, everybody will get charged an additional fee on the tuition because we couldn't help it, right? It's just so it's a fun just like kind of thing around resourcefulness, but also about Gabo really feeling left out and not like he belongs because he doesn't have everything. But still wanting to engage in the experience. And by the end, he's out there having a great time and enjoying the snow. And hopefully maybe, I don't know, it's like a twofold. Last year, I shared this book around the wintertime, and we hadn't gotten any snow large enough for sledding experiences last winter. So I would love to say, like, I hope kids can get that opportunity. I loved sledding as a kid, but then I'm like, oh, but I don't know that I want that much snow.
Yeah. I'd like it for like an afternoon, and then I'd like it to be gone.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly, so that it doesn't impede my driving or anything.
Right. I'm with you on that one. But we live in Northern Illinois, so what are we going to do?
I know. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our Wind Down Wednesday. I think we did a pretty good job filling in for Carly.
I hope she's proud of us.
Yes. I mean, we've learned from the best, so I think we did an okay job. But hopefully, everybody, you enjoyed kind of seeing some of our favorite books. Books come, for different days that are coming up throughout the year. Rachel, anything you want to add?
I mean, I just think if anybody out there sees you or I or really anybody on our team, feel free to ask us about any of our current faves of books. We have always got different ones on the back burner, right? Like, or ones that somebody just said, oh, I just got this one. I haven't read it. Like, we love those conversations. So bring them up when you see us.
Right. I mean, you're guaranteed at least a 10-minute conversation about books if you bring it up.
And if you don't want to have us talk about, like, just scoot on by and pretend you didn't see it.
All right, Rachel. Well, have a good night. And everybody watching out there, have a good night. And we will see you next Wednesday.
All right. Thanks, Maggie. Have a good evening yourself.
Bye.